Your reaction is not parenting, it is self-defense. Your child's behavior is a signal, and that signal is not pointing at them. This signal is pointing back at you. A child who never says no, never argues, never resists, that child has not learned compliance. That child has learned that the inner world is not safe to express, and that is a wound, not a success. Because children do not learn from what we teach them, they learn from who we are when we think no one is watching. In that state, your child's resistance registers as danger. You do not have to be a perfect parent, you have to be a present one. I want to ask you something, and I want you to sit with it honestly. The last time you lost your patience with your child, what were you actually reacting to? Was it the spilled cup? Was it the noise? Was something broken? What was the word no said back to you one too many times? Or was it something older than that? Something that had absolutely nothing to do with the child standing in front of you. Here is what I know from years of my clinical work and from my own life. The moments we are most certain that our child is the problem are almost always the moments when something inside of us is asking to be seen. Your child's behavior is not a discipline failure. Your child's behavior is a signal, and that signal is not pointing at them. This signal is pointing back at you. Today, I want to show you what that signal actually means and what becomes possible when you finally stop trying to fix the mirror and start looking at what is it reflecting back. Hi, I'm Dr. Monika Singh, and I work at the intersection of my medical knowledge and ancestral healing. My focus completely is on something which I call reversal parenting. Reversal parenting is not a discipline method. It is not a reward chart or a consequence system. It is a paradigm shift, one that moves the work away from managing the child's behavior and places it firmly and honestly inside the parent's own nervous system somewhere. Because that is where the real work has always needed to happen. And today, I'm going to walk you through 10 reasons why, with the science back for every single one. Let's start. Point number 1. The mirror neuron system. Your child's nervous system is not operating independently of yours. It is reading yours constantly in real time. Mirror neurons, the neural circuitry responsible for empathy, imitation, and emotional contagion. These are how infants learn everything from facial expressions to emotional regulation, and they do not switch off as your child grows. Your child is, on a neurological level, physically syncing with your internal state, moment to moment. When your body is holding unspoken tension, jaw tight, fist clenched, breath shallow, presence everywhere, your child's nervous system registers that as threat. Even when your words say everything is fine, the body does not lie. The tone certainly does not. And your child's biology is wired to read it. This is not something to feel guilty about. It is something to work with, because it means that the single most powerful thing you can do for your child's behavior is regulate your own. Point number 2, ancestral landmines. Not every trigger belongs to you. Some of them were handed down. When a particular behavior from your child produces a reaction that feels outsized, when the intensity of what you feel does not match the scale of what just happened, that is almost always a sign that you have landed on an ancestral landmine. A wound that was not created in your relationship with your child. Maybe this wound was also not created in your past as your experience, but was carried into it from somewhere earlier. From the way your own needs were met or they weren't. From the emotional rules that governed your family of origin. From a vision, from a version of this exact moment that you lived through as a child on the other side. The work is not to eliminate the trigger. It is to trace it. to ask, when did I first learn that this was dangerous? Who first taught me that this feeling was not allowed? When you can answer that, you stop reacting to your child and start responding to the actual situation in front of you. The adrenal parent, which is the chronic stress. The modern condition for most parents nowadays keeps the body in a sustained state of low-grade psychological threat. Cortisol stays elevated, the sympathetic nervous system stays dominant, the body remains in a posture of survival. And here is the critical problem. A nervous system running on survival cannot distinguish between an actual threat and a child who will not put their shoes on. In that state, your child's resistance registers as danger. Their noise registers as an alarm. Their needs register as demands, which deplete your system, and your system cannot simply meet them. And your reaction is not parenting. It is self-defense, self-preservation, preservation of your ego, preservation of your own self-worth. No parent who is living in survival mode can access the patience, attunement, and presence that children actually need. This is not a character failure. It is a psychological one, and it requires a psychological solution, not more willpower, but genuine nervous system restoration. As Carl Jung named it, shadows, those parts which are completely unaccepted by us, which we don't know that these deficits or lacks or these parts, they exist within us. The anger we were punished for showing, the neediness we learned to hide, the sensitivity, the wildness which was systematically conditioned away. Those parts of our personality did not just disappear, they went underground. And now you have a child who is expressing them freely, because children do not yet know they are not allowed to. And something in you responds with a disproportionate intensity that you cannot quite explain. I want you to try something. The next time you feel that flash of irritation at something your child does, instead of moving to manage it, just pause and ask yourself honestly, is this something I was allowed to do at their age? The answer will tell you everything, because what you are reacting to is almost never the child. It is the child you were finally having permission to exist. And that part of you which was taught very long ago that permission was dangerous, you got conditioned to not expressing yourself fully. Children do not self-regulate, they co-regulate, which means they borrow the regulated state of calm of an adult in order to bring their own nervous system back to equilibrium. This is not a theory, it is developmental neuroscience. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for impulse control, emotional regulation, and rational decision making, is not fully developed until the mid-20s. Your child literally does not yet have the neural architecture to calm themselves independently in moments of high activation. They need you to be that architecture for them, which means that when both nervous systems are dysregulated at the same time, means you and your kids, no resolution is possible. Someone has to come back first, and that someone has to be you, because your child is simply not capable of self-regulation. Not because you are the authority, but because you are the adult and your nervous system has the capacity to lead. Your calm is not supposed to be passive. It is the most active and powerful parenting intervention available to you. The word defiance says something that is in developmental terms entirely healthy. Listen to me carefully. When a 20-year-old says no, they are not being difficult. They are discovering that they have a self that is separate from you, and that this self has preferences, it has boundaries and the capacity to assert them. That is developmental success, not a behavioral failure. When a 7-year-old argues with you, they are practicing independent reasoning. When a teenager pushes back against your authority, they are rehearsing the autonomy they will need to survive as an adult. This is spectacular. A child who never says no, never argues, never resists, that child has not learned compliance. That child has learned that the inner world is not safe to express, and that is a wound, not a success. The question is never, how do I get my child to stop saying no? The question is, can I stay regulated enough to hear it and respond in a way that teaches them that their voice matters? while also holding a boundary with love. Your body remembers things from your mind has moved on from. If chaos in your home of origin was followed by something frightening, if mess, noise, or disorder were signals that danger was coming, your body encoded that association. And now, decades later, when your child creates mess or noise, your nervous system activates the same alarm. Not because you're choosing to overreact, because the body is running a very old program. This is called somatic memory, the body's cellular storage of past experiences. It operates beneath cognition. You cannot think your way out of it. You can only work with it by going into the body through breath work, through movement, through tapping, through resolutions, through audios, through whatever which helps you, through any somatic therapy. And then you offer the nervous system that new evidence that the present moment is not the replication of the past. Once the body learns that this mess, this noise, this moment is safe, the reaction begins to change. Not because you tried harder, because the underlying data was updated in your neural system. Now let's talk about the projection loop. There is a particular kind of parenting that looks like high investment but is actually driven by fear. The fear of a child becoming us. Of them repeating our patterns, making our mistakes, carrying our pain forward. And so we push, we correct, we intervene, we manage, we shape them with an urgency that has nothing to do with who they actually are and everything to do with who we are afraid they might become. But here is the paradox. The more we parent from fear of our unresolved stories, the more we imprint and import that particular story into our relationship with our child. The very thing we are trying to prevent, we are enacting, because children do not learn from what we teach them. They learn from who we are when we think no one is watching. The only way to genuinely protect your child from your patterns is to do the work of understanding those patterns yourself. Not for them, but for yourself. The protection is the byproduct. And when you become free and liberated, that's the exact point. Now let's talk about your inner child. You, when you were young, how you can reclaim it. Every parent is simultaneously parenting two children, the one in front of them and the one they once were. The child you were is still present in your body, especially in the places you cannot tolerate your child being emotional because you were not allowed to be. In the moment you snap at their neediness because your own needs were experienced as too much, in the reflexive or subconscious pull towards control because chaos was once genuinely dangerous for you. Inner child work is not sentimental. It is precision work. It is locating the specific wounds that are actively running your parenting and giving them the attention, the acknowledgement, and the compassion they never received. When you tend to the child you were once, something shifts in the room, in your house, in your family, in your environment. Your child does not have to carry your unlived experiences anymore. They get to simply be who they are. In a family where there is finally enough space for everyone's full humanity, harmony, togetherness, real love, real bond. Let's talk about one another important aspect, which is the presence blueprint. There is a difference between managing your child and witnessing them, and it is the most important distinction in reversal parenting. Managing is transactional. It is focused on behavior, on compliance, on outcome. It asks, how do I get this child to do what needs to be done? It is efficient, it is necessary, but it is profoundly insufficient as the only method of relating to your child. But witnessing is something different. It is being fully present with your child as a human being and not as a project of yours. It is seeing them, their inner world, their experiences, their emotional reality without immediately moving to fix, direct, or improve it. Children who are witnessed develop a fundamental sense of being known, of existing fully and being accepted as they are. That felt sense of unconditional presence is the single most protective factor in child's mental health that developmental research has ever identified. You do not have to be a perfect parent. You have to be a present point one. And your presence begins always with your own self. If anything in what I just shared landed for you, even if one of those pointers made you pause and think that's me, then you already know somewhere inside that there is a next step which is impending, which is another parenting technique. And it is you. It has always been you. If you wish to know more about reversal parenting and the techniques, I invite you to go through our 4-hour reversal masterclass. You'll find the link in the description below. Go through it and I'll meet with you very soon. This is Dr. Monika Singh, who's basically a doctor practicing obstetrics, has delivered more than 10,000 babies, author of the book Awakening in Womb, where I've mentioned 11 codes of awakening during pregnancy. Reversal is exactly reversing those codes of awakening, reversing the programs your child landed with while they were being carried inside your wife's womb or inside your womb. If you are interested in this reversal, I'll be more than happy to handhold you through the journey. I welcome you with a lot of love and a surety. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.